Hello everybody. So it's come to my attention that in the film industry or the gaming industry that sometimes proportions for cuirasses tend to be a little bit misaligned. So let's go to the screen here. Now I've got here an example of a 16th century suit of armour. It's a good example of what a cuirass tends to be from that age. Now, cuirasses is a breastplate consisting of folds. So if I get my pen out, I'll show you. Okay, so let's just make this a little bigger so I can explain what the what a cuirass tends to consist of. Now, let's get my brush. And let's make this red so you can see. Okay, so this whole area here is the cuirass, consisting of this part here. Now it's not always consisting of this configuration of pieces of metal that are put together. Now sometimes it is just a breastplate here, which is there, this part here. Now this part here that's hanging off the edge here is for the joust to rest on. So that part there is usually considered as the breastplate, and occasionally there will be a backplate for this breastplate towards the later parts of the 15th century, and in the 16th and 17th century there will be backplates. So this area here, which tends to be missed quite a lot in film and gaming industry, this area here, a vital area, is called the folds. Now it's spelt like this, folds. Now this actually allows you to pivot your body to move around, and this area here are called tassets. Now this area here tends to be used for the connection between the leg defences, usually called cuisses. So these are called tassets. And they overlap the folds, and then they overlap the leg area called the cuisses. In this case there are no leg pieces. Now the vital proportions for hang on a minute, let's just move this image to the side. So for a breastplate to work for the human body, it needs to be tailored towards the human anatomy. So you have a torso here, and then you've got your pelvis. Hang on a minute, let's do this with a black pen so you can see this a little better. So this would be a very quick drawing just to kind of explain my understanding of what breastplates tend to be for. So yeah, you've got your rib cage here. This is a very rough, and you've got your sternum there, rib cage, and then you've got your pelvis area here, and that connects to your legs. And that's the groin area. And this connects to your arms, which is also a very important area for the cuirass to be tailored towards, is your arms. I'll explain in a little bit. Now, that's the neck. So we've got a basic human form. This area here is bulging out a little bit. I'm just going to get rid of that and just move it in here. and that's the belly button. So we've got a quick sketch of the human figure, mainly the torso. Let's get my red pen out. Now, breastplates for the medieval eras and Renaissance eras and later on, the cutoff usually is in between the rib cage and the pelvis, to allow for movement of the body properly. Now, I tend to see with modern reproductions and with other kind of designs, say I've seen this in Game of Thrones, I've seen this in Lord of the Rings, the cut-off point for their breastplates tend to be along the belt line, which is bad because this stops proper movement of the human body. This whole area here allows you to move, and if the cutoff for the breastplate is around here, I'll bring up an example if when I'm editing this video. It's so important to have the cutoff between, usually in the navel area, which is the belly button kind of area, in between the rib cage and the pelvis, because that's where your body mainly moves. So I've also seen I'll just redraw this again, modern reproductions and game and film industry versions where they cut off there. They're also, the proportions for the cuirass, it's not round enough, it's not domed enough. It's so important to have that domed structure to deflect missiles and withstand the impact of weapons such as pole axes and percussive weapons such as maces and like bladed maces and war hammers and stuff like that. You have to have that structure in order to withstand that kind of impact, especially with lances. If you just had a flat cuirass that's against the body here, you will lose your sternum. It will just kill you, really, and the amount of impact that will go through the body will be immense, and it will shatter your ribs, and it's just generally a messy experience. So, what are decent proportions generally for a cuirass? Now, for the arms, it's good to have that cut in to allow movement of the arm. So we'll cut it in there, and enough opening for neck movement. I've also seen a lot of reproductions, especially in the film industry, where it cuts it off right on the neck. Bad idea, especially when you've got a lower cut here, because when you bend over, this is going to ride, the neck piece here will ride up and it'll hit your chin or your mouth, or it'll take your teeth out, which is really what you don't want. You want armour to be tailored to the body so it's not in the way and protecting you, not to be a hindrance. So enough neck movement here. I'll probably bring that down a little. Okay. Now, let's get rid of this bottom part here. You will want the cut-off point to be around here, so you're protecting the vital areas, such as the heart and lungs, and some of the main organs here, like your stomach, liver, all the other bits. And you would want it to be domed. It's so important to have that dome shape, because it's a very solid structure, and it will allow you to take the impact of lances and other weapons. So that dome shape is so important. Earlier versions tend to be quite globular, so if you were viewing it from the side, it would go around like that, and then you've got your arms here, and that's your back. It looks a little odd, but it works as a structure. Now, in this case of this 16th century armour, we've got the folds down here. So this part here with the bands of steel, they collapse in together to allow movement of that torso. So I'll just put that there. There are different lengths. You know, English about 1380, 1390, they tend to be quite long skirted. You know, if you see Battle of Agincourt, which is 1415, the skirt will go right down here, and then you get this really long skirt, and then it's cut off with all these bands of steel that consist of the folds, and they collapse in together, which is completely missed. I don't see this a lot at all in gaming industry or the film industry. It's such an important part of the cuirass if you're going to have a full set of armour. Some of the lower class, like men-at-arms and infantry, may just have the breastplate. So yeah, well, including the folds here, and they tend to be banded there. And then you've got your tassets. This is sometimes put in the they sort of developed through the 1420s and the 1430s, and then you started to get this full length tasset shape here. So this is optional, you know, to have these tassets, and they have to overlap the folds. If they don't, you'll have a gap in between the tassets and the folds, and this will have an opening. You know, you've got a lot of arteries in this area. Now, usually this gap here is to allow for horses, so you can mount your horse. So, you know, you'll spread your legs for your legs to be around the horse shape, and that's also vital for these folds here, is to allow the collapsing for when you are on a horse. A lot of these guys later on in the 16th century will be mounted on horseback. So yeah, that's the general outlook on what a cuirass should be shaped. You know, that doming shape with the folds to allow movement of the body, and tassets to connect and protect the gap in between the folds and the leg. So I had my Stormtrooper Knight design that I did a while back. Now the design here is leaning more towards the knight look, so more of the medieval style and Renaissance style and later periods. So I've decided here to kind of make a little mingling, so the breastplate here actually overlaps, and we've got a small plate here which tends to be seen in stormtroopers, and I've called that the placard, which is sometimes a piece that will go over the cuirass usually, and it will meet up like that, usually in the Milanese style, Italian styles, but in this case it's going underneath the breastplate. Oop, I didn't mean to do that. So I've allowed it one plate here for movement of the arms. We've got a lower neck piece, so this allows movement of the neck, and then we've got the fold area to allow movement of the torso. I've got a little demonstration here of the guy bending over, just to demonstrate that the folds are quite important for the cuirass to work properly. Now, you'll have some movement, but there will always be restrictions with armour. And then we've got the backplate here, this area here. It's consistent of several different pieces. I've looked at some of the Gothic styles of backplates, and they seem to be made of different segments. So yeah, I just wanted to explain a little bit on what cuirasses are consisted of, because this is sometimes missed a little bit when designs, for like designs in the character designs in the film and gaming industry. So yeah, I hope you learnt a little bit, or if you know about this anyway, I hope it was a little bit entertaining. So yeah, see you guys.